We had a potential new client call yesterday, and I was just so excited, of course. Anytime there's a new client onboarding, you just see the growth that your business is doing, and that's just an exciting moment. But it was quickly put to flames when the client basically started dictating exactly what she wanted, and it went against multiple of our policies and protocols. And when I tried to explain her our process and procedure and why we do what we do, she was just very negative about it. She's like, no, I'm paying you to do what I want to do. And I don't care what your policies are. This is what you're going to do. And then ultimately it ended in not a great ending, even though I tried to end on a good note, even if we weren't going to be a successful match, and it just didn't. So ultimately this led me to remember like how many times this happens, and for many different reasons. And today let's talk about 5 most probable times when a potential client needs to be a definite no client to you, and you need to say no versus them saying no. So today, let's get started. My name is Amber Van Denzen. I am the owner and founder of Attaboy Animal Care for the past 9 years, veterinary technician of 13 years, animal science degree, all that fun stuff. But first and foremost, if you get a gut feeling that there is something wrong or it's not going to go well from the beginning, trust your gut. This is not just an intuition situation. You've had years of experience probably in situations that you've been put in that ultimately your brain is connecting those puzzle pieces and telling you, this sounds very familiar. So let's stick with that. So the first thing let's get started on the one just based off of that previous story. If they're not willing to follow your process, protocol, and procedures from day one, they need to go, baby. They are not going to be a good fit. This is a type of client that will probably always try to push the boundaries, not follow the protocols, definitely avoid them. And then ultimately, in the end, whether it's days, weeks, months, or years later, you're gonna be at wit's end because you're so frustrated at their lack of trust and respect of your business, and you're gonna wanna fire them, and they're not gonna understand why because you've put up with their bullshit for all this time ultimately. So let's avoid that from the beginning. First, you need to have clear process, contracts, protocols, and procedures, both on your website and on your software. So if they say they didn't see it, you can say, well, it's been in 2 different places. There's no way you could have missed it. Our software requires them to agree to the terms and contract before they can even go into the software. So if they chose not to read it, that's their problem. But when it comes up in conversation, we can refer back to that. The second thing that I always find that is a yellow or red flag right away is if they're trying to call outside of business hours. And when I'm talking 9 p.m., 10 p.m., texting at midnight. And initially when I was a newbie pet business owner, I would answer them if I was awake. I would respond to the emails that came through on my personal phone. I would respond to the text messages. Just got a text message just now on a Sunday for a client that's not having active services that the situation was not dire. That can wait till the next business day. This is the type of client that wants what they want when they want it. And if you tried to call them at their business, probably at those insane hours, they would never answer. So why should you? You created those business times for a reason. Stick with it. The only time you should be talking to clients outside of business hours is if they actively have visits going on, or if they call and leave a voicemail with emergency situation that you're responding to. And that's about it, really. Now, the third yellow or red flag, if you want to call it, is when they say they forgot to do something, but really they didn't. And what I'm referring to is when you're coming into a home and either the litter boxes aren't cleaned properly, or the backyard waste hasn't been maintained, or the pet's health care or coat is not in the best shape, or the house cleanliness is not so sanitary anymore. Those situations are not only dangerous for you and your staff, they're dangerous for that pet, obviously, and your liability. What I always say is when you go into a home, it needs to be able to be maintained in a clean state. So you should be going in a clean manner and leaving it in a clean manner. Because if not, there is high risk that they could potentially come back and say, look how my pet sitter left my home. Look how my pet sitter left my pet. pet. Look how my pet sitter left my litter boxes. But if you're going into a situation that's already not in good shape, not to mention the medical risks, the health risks of waste and dirty homes and environments on you, the liability of it alone is a big issue. We had a client, we went into a consultation, some people like to call them meet and greets, and the home, even though she filled out the online software that said the home has to be in a clean, uncluttered, sanitary, blah, 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 it wasn't really. Well, it was, I would say it was in that gray area right before it got to completely unsanitary, that it was a definite no. She said, I'm so sorry, I've been out of town and really work busy. I have a house cleaner coming soon. It'll be cleaned up before you get here. Okay, no problem. All the stuff was not horrible. It just hadn't been maintained. And of course, when we got to that first visit, sure as shit, the house was not cleaned. I would even venture to say it was worse because it's been a couple more weeks since that consultation. So what did we do? We had to clean up as much as we could. We had to have those awkward conversations. People got upset and offended that we weren't being accommodating because their cleanliness level versus your cleanliness level may be two different things. So communicating from the beginning, and if we said, I'm so sorry, we won't be able to service if it's in this state, we would need it to be in a more maintained state, is the most awkward conversation you can probably have. It's probably going to save you in the long run an even worse conversation and being put in a situation, or your staff being put in a situation where the home is not a safe or sanitary environment. And has this happened more than once? Yes, it has, because I'm a good person and I try to see the best in people, and I get fucked over in the long run. So most often than not, they end up getting on a ban list after that. We complete the services, we leave a note saying big no, sorry, we appreciate your time, have a nice day, we won't be able to service in the future. So that's number 3 is sanitation, things left as they should when you arrive to the home, at the consultation, at that first visit, at that Zoom call, whatever you may do. Yellow flag number 4, or red flag if you may, would be nitpicking over your prices or your fees, and or not paying when they're supposed to be. Ultimately, they need to value your company and what you're choosing to charge and reasons why. If they ask kindly, can you explain to me why this process and procedure is this pricing? I usually will say, do you have a need to? No, it's your business. Do you ask the plumber why they charge $150 to come to your house? No. Do you ask the AC guy why they charge that to do a maintenance call? No. So why should they for pet sitting? Maybe because it's a newer industry and people are learning still, because back in the day, pet sitting wasn't as well off as it is now, so the price has drastically changed, but we still have a far way to go to what we should be charging while going into living, breathing creatures' homes and caring for them. But I digress. If they are already combative about your pricing from the beginning, or whenever you have a price change, I always offer them an out. And this is a nice way to be done. I always say, yep, this is our pricing, this is what it'll be from now on. We don't grandfather people in or anything. While we understand this may not be the right fit for everyone financially, we do understand here's an alternative list of local companies that offer alternative services. If you have any questions, please do let us know. More often than not, they go, oh, no, I do want your service. I was just being cheap. But if they continue to be combative, if they're the client that always emails asking for discounts, which, pro tip, never discount. Like, never, ever discount. Your services are worthy. You do not need discounts or sales or any shit like that. But if they are the person that continues to ask this, you can be the one that says, you know what, well, I appreciate this. We've already had these conversations before. I think we need to move on. And if we're unable to, we won't be able to service in the future. The end. Last but not least, number 5, big old 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, cinco, yellow flag or red flag is, I'm going to label it as unrealistic expectations. This is the person that may be constantly booking last minute and expecting you to cover them no matter what. This is the person that may be canceling the last minute and constantly ask for a waiver of those cancellation fees or wants their money back. This may be the client that has 9 cats with 9, 10 litter boxes and 9, 10 special diets and a 4,000 square foot home and expects it to be done in once a day 30-minute visits. These unrealistic expectations, the person that are getting nitty gritty on when you start and stop to the timer when you explain to them your policies at the beginning. Unrealistic expectations is the devil of any industry. You need to set boundaries. You need to let them know clearly what is going to be provided. And if it doesn't fit with what you know is going to work, you need to tell them. If they say, I want a 30-minute visit for those 9 cats, you have to say, unfortunately, that is not a viable option for you. It needs to be 1-hour visits. It needs to be 2 or 3 times a day, whatever makes sense for your process and your policies and your procedures. If they're not comfortable with that, then they are not a right fit for you. And let's remember that factor. They are not a right fit for your company. And that is an okay statement. There are plenty of other companies out there, even if you're in an area that you say, but I'm the only company in the area. That is still not your fault that they are not willing to follow what you know is best for your company. Because what's going to happen is when you say yes, you're either going to stay longer than you should be, you're going to lose money because of that, or you're not going to complete the things that they expect you to complete and that maybe you should complete in the time allotted, which means you're going to be later to other visits, which means it's going to be stressful to you, which means you're going to burn out. It's not worth it. So setting those expectations and setting those boundaries from the beginning is key. And if they're not willing to do that, then they're not the client for you. These unrealistic expectations can be those banes of our existence ultimately, and it's so hard, whether it's this one or the past 4 that I just talked about, to have those conversations with people in a nice, polite manner. Of course, you don't have to be an asshole about it or like holier than thou, but still letting them know this is what we can offer and this is the only thing we can offer and this is what's going to be successful and here are the reasons why. And if they're not willing to accept that, then they're not the client for you. And in the long run, that one pain in the ass client is going to take up more time than 10 or 15 excellent clients. So get rid of them and they'll be easily replaced, I will tell you, by plenty of other great clients that you know appreciate your services, respect your boundaries, understand your policies and procedures, and trust you to do what's best for their home, their household, and their creatures while they're away. I hope you guys have a great day. Is there anything that's the big pain in the butt for you, the one pet peeve of your clients? I'm curious. Let me know below. I hope you guys have a great day, and as I always say, happy pets, happy people. Bye-bye.